My real love is people like you who showed up for training, not entertainment. You didn't come for goosebumps. You came for a toolkit. So let's begin where real leaders begin. Say it with me. A leader doesn't avoid conflict. He manages it with purpose. Write this down. Leadership is born when toleration ends. Whatever you tolerate, you authorize to continue. Avoidance is agreement with dysfunction. Jesus said in Matthew 18:15, if your brother sins against you, go and show him his fault between you and him alone. That is not aggression. That is assignment. Ephesians 4:15 says, speak the truth in love, not the silence in fear. Love is not passive. Love protects. Love corrects. Love confronts purposefully. Let me give you a picture. A young manager, let's call her Lydia, kept smiling through missed deadlines. She thought silence was kindness. Her top performer left. When I asked why, he said, no one here protects the mission. The reef didn't sink the ship. The captain's silence did. Write this down. Avoidance erodes credibility. Credibility is the currency of leadership. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Genesis 1:26 declares dominion radar, ruled by responsibility, not by rage. Hard talks are part of your dominion mandate. Steward the environment so fruit can grow. Proverbs 23:7 reminds us, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you believe conflict is dangerous, you will either attack or retreat. If you believe conflict is stewardship, you will engage with wisdom and calm authority. Uncomfortable conversations are not aggression. They are assignment. They are the surgery that saves the body from infection. Write this down. Correction without purpose is cruelty. Avoidance without action is negligence. Leaders do neither. Leaders anchor correction in identity and in personal standards. Not my mood. Not your personality. The standard tied to purpose. In this series, we will master a simple 3-part script that protects people and the mission without becoming toxic. Purpose, standard, next action. That's it. 3 sentences that any lion-hearted believer can deliver with peace. Say it with me. Purpose, standard, next action. Avoidance kills influence because it tells your team the mission is optional and their growth is negotiable. From this moment, we end toleration with purposeful conversations. This is training, not a show. Your job is what they pay you to do. Your work is what you were born to do, and part of that work is to confront for the sake of destiny. Now, breathe. The surgery will be precise. The recovery will be glorious, and your influence will live. Before we touch the technique, we must touch the core. Say it with me. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Say it again with conviction. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Jeremiah 1-5 records the manufacturer's memo. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. That means the meeting you are afraid to have may be the very room you were pre-approved to enter. Your voice is not noise. It is authorization. Genesis 1:26 says, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. The Hebrew word radah, dominion, means to manage, to steward, to arrange an environment for fruitfulness. Write this down. Authority in hard conversations flows from discovered identity, not from titles or temper. Let me tell you why you tremble. You think you need a badge, but God gave you an image. The image is your license. Identity is your credential. When you know who sent you, you don't shout to be heard. Your calm becomes a command. Jesus modeled this. John 13:3 says, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, took a towel and washed feet. Security served. Security corrected. Security never performed for approval. It operated from assignment. Write this down. You don't correct to control people. You correct to protect purpose. Insecure people weaponize words because they fear exposure. Secure leaders steward standards because they are anchored in purpose. Identity precedes technique. If you attempt the 3-sentence script with a shaky soul, you will turn a scalpel into a sword. But when you remember whose image you bear Tselem, likeness, your tone lowers, your shoulders drop, and your words become safe and strong. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you think you are an imposter, you will negotiate with dysfunction. If you know you are assigned, you will negotiate with purpose. A young team lead named Mara came to me in tears. I don't want to be mean, she said. I handed her a small card and wrote one word, assignment. Take this into your next meeting, I told her. She walked in, set the card in front of her, and began, our purpose is client trust. The standard is 2 4-hour responses. The next action is you and I clearing your queue by 3 p.m., calm, clear, no venom. Afterwards, she whispered, I met me today. That is leadership self-discovery in action. Before you speak to them, meet you. Repeat after me. I am an image bearer, not an intimidator. I am assigned to protect purpose. My words are standards, not weapons. Your title may sit on paper, but your authority sits in identity. Find that, and when you finally open your mouth, the room will recognize a leader not because you raised your volume, but because you remembered your origin. Mindset determines mouth. Write this down. Leadership is 80% mentality and 20% skill. You can memorize the 3 sentences, but if your heart believes conflict is war, your tongue will draw a sword. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The heart in Hebrew, lev, is the control center. Whatever sits there governs your tone, your timing, your face, your very breathing. Say it with me. My mind sets my mouth. Let me show you the lion. The lion is not the tallest, the heaviest, or the fastest in the jungle. The elephant outsizes him, outweighs him, could trample him with one move. But when the lion sees the elephant, his belief system interprets size differently. The lion says lunch. The elephant sees the lion and says threat. Same environment, different belief. Who becomes king? The one whose attitude speaks first. Write this down. Your belief calls conflict a threat or an opportunity. If you see confrontation as punishment, you will panic. If you see confrontation as protection, you will lead. David walked toward Goliath with a shepherd's mindset, not a soldier's trauma. He said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Identity language. He framed the conflict through covenant, not through size. That is why a stone carried authority. The power was not in the rock. It was in the belief. Likewise, Jesus could sleep in a storm because his inner weather was calm. Matthew 8 records it. After he woke, he rebuked the wind, and then he rebuked their fear. Attitude first, atmosphere second. Write this down. Your mouth can't sustain what your mindset contradicts. You can whisper, but if your belief is loud with fear, people will hear the fear. You can choose polite words, but if your heart is defensive, your face will prosecute. So we reset the heart. How? Enter every talk convinced of 3 truths. I bring value, I bring clarity, I bring care. Say it with me. Value, clarity, care. When I confront, I protect purpose and people. Strength with empathy. A young executive told me, I hate conflict. I said, rename it. He wrote on his notepad, alignment meeting. He walked in with lion eyes and a shepherd heart. Our purpose is trust. The standard is on-time delivery. The next action is a revised schedule by noon. Calm authority. No growl. The room leaned forward instead of back. Why? The mindset changed, so the mouth obeyed. Write this down. Change your belief about conflict, and your words will carry calm authority. Repeat after me. I am not here to win a fight. I am here to keep a covenant. My belief births my tone. My tone births my results. Enter like a lion, confident, not cruel, decisive, not defensive, and watch even elephants move. Before you say a single word, frame the room. Rule 1, never start with accusation. Start with assignment. Write this down. Accusation triggers ego. Assignment summons gift. If you begin with you always, you just invited their attorney. If you begin with our assignment is, you just awaken their ally. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. Vision, purpose precedes behavior. That's why I teach vision is more important than leadership. Purpose creates the rails. Leadership drives the train. Jesus modeled this. When Peter tried to divert him from the cross, Jesus anchored an assignment first. For this cause I was born, John 18:37. Then he corrected. Purpose before words. Nehemiah did the same. Before he addressed opposition, he framed the mission. I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Nehemiah 6:3. Write this down. Purpose reduces defensiveness by naming the greater good. Here is your formula. Say it with me. The purpose of this conversation is to protect X so we can achieve Y. That's your first sentence. Simple, clean, disarming. Example, the purpose of this conversation is to protect client trust so we can retain this account. Or, the purpose of this conversation is to protect patient safety so we can deliver excellent care. Or, the purpose of this conversation is to protect team unity so we can hit the deadline. Purpose names the shared treasure. People defend what they help protect. Why are we talking? Say it with me. To protect purpose. Again, to protect purpose. When you lead with that, you convert confrontation into collaboration. You move the person from the witness stand to the workbench. It opens the door for standards without personal attack. After purpose, the standard becomes a guardrail, not a guillotine. Because our purpose is client trust. The standard is 2 for our responses. Hear the bridge? Purpose makes the standard feel like love. Let me paint it. A supervisor pulled a nurse aside. Not, you're always late. She began, the purpose of this conversation is to protect patient safety so we can deliver excellent care. The standard is on-time medication rounds. The next action is adjusting your shift. Start by 15 minutes this week while we remove the obstacle. Shoulders dropped. Agreement rose. Why? The heart heard protection, not prosecution. Write this down. Purpose opens ears. Standards guide hands. Next actions move feet. Start with purpose and watch resistance soften into responsibility. This is how a lion leads with a shepherd's heart. Assignment first, then alignment. After purpose comes principle. Not your mood, not their personality, principle. Write this down. Preference is personal taste. Principle is purpose-bound truth. Preference changes with weather. Principle stands in every season. 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, let all things be done decently and in order. Order is not an attitude, it is a standard. Standards are love's guardrails, impersonal, clear, and tied to purpose. Write this down. A standard is an impersonal law that protects relationship. Romans 13:10 declares, love does no harm to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. In Hebrew, Torah means instruction, protective direction, not punishment. Guardrails do not insult your driving, they protect your destination. When you clarify standards, you are not restricting people, you are releasing them to succeed without guessing. Say it with me. Standards make love safe and goals reachable. Here is your clarity test. Would this be required if you weren't in the room? If yes, it's a standard. If it only exists when you frown, it's a preference disguised as power. Leaders who trade standards for preferences create politics. Write this down. When there is no principle, the loudest mood becomes the policy. That is how culture corrodes. So what are your non-negotiables? Document 3 to 5, tied to mission, timelines, and trust. Don't write poetry, write promises. Because our purpose is client trust. The standard is 2 for our response to all client emails, timelines. Because our purpose is on-time delivery. The standard is start meetings at the exact scheduled time. Late arrivals catch up silently. Trust. Because our purpose is unity. The standard is direct feedback within 24 hours, no triangulation, no gossip. Quality. Because our purpose is safety. The standard is 0 Falsification of data errors are reported immediately without penalty for truth. Communication. Because our purpose is clarity. The standard is decisions documented in writing within 1 business day. Write this down. If it isn't written, it isn't a standard. It's a suggestion. Put your standards where eyes can see and hearts can align. Jesus said in Matthew 5:37, let your yes be yes and your no, no. Clarity is kindness. Ambiguity is cruelty dressed as niceness. I worked with a team where the manager's preference was punctuality until his favorite arrived late. The rule bent. The team broke. Resentment rose. Excellence fell. When we converted preference to principle, meetings start on time. No exceptions, because we respect each other's work. Resentment dropped and results returned. Write this down. Principle heals what preference harms. As you prepare your 3-sentence script, let the second sentence sit on granite, not sand. Purpose opens the door. Standards hold the frame. Say it with me one more time. Standards make love safe and goals reachable. Now go write them, post them, and live them, so when you speak, you are not imposing your taste, you are invoking our truth. Now take a breath, because I'm about to put a scalpel in your hand. Write this down. 3 sentences can transform conflict into commitment. Not paragraphs, not a TED Talk. 3. Say it with me. Purpose. Standard. Next action. Sentence 1. Purpose. The purpose of this conversation is protect X so we can achieve Y. That's your opening door. It reminds both of you why we're here. The purpose of this conversation is to protect client trust so we can retain this account. The purpose of this conversation is to protect team unity so we can deliver the launch on Friday. The purpose of this conversation is to protect patient safety so we can provide excellent. Purpose disarms pride and summons partnership. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. Vision first, behavior follows. Sentence 2, standard. Our standard is state the principle, which applies to all of us. Hear the word our. This is not your personal taste. This is our impersonal guardrail. Our standard is responses within 24 hours, which applies to all of us. Our standard is start meetings at the scheduled time. Late arrivals, catch up silently. This applies to all of us. Our standard is 0. Falsification errors are reported immediately, applies to all of us. Matthew 5:37. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Clarity is kindness. Standards make love safe. Sentence 3, next action. Here's what happens next. Specific behavior, timeline, support, consequence, no fall, concrete bricks. Here's what happens next. You and I will clear your inbox by 3 p.m. Moving forward, set 2 response blocks daily. If we miss it twice this week, we reassign overflow. Here's what happens next. You'll arrive 10 minutes early for the next 5 shifts while we address childcare. If tardiness continues, we move to written warning per policy. Here's what happens next. You'll send a written recap within 1 business day, and I'll review it at 4 p.m. If not received, the decision pauses. Support and consequence in the same breath. Mercy with muscle. Proverbs 10:19 warns, in the multitude of words, sin is not lacking. Keep it few, keep it firm. Write this down. Short, clear, repeatable. No speeches, just standards. Practice aloud until your tongue obeys your purpose. Say it with me slowly. The purpose is, the standard is. Here's what happens next. Again, purpose, standard. Next action. When I coach executives, I make them deliver this in under 25 seconds. Why? Because calm certainty is louder than long explanations. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain. Plain is powerful. Tried with common friction. Gossip. The purpose is to protect trust so we can work freely. Our standard is direct feedback within 24 hours. No triangulation, applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. You'll address Sarah directly today by 2 p.m. If it repeats, you'll sit with HR for coaching. Miss Handoff? The purpose is to protect the deadline so we can ship Friday. Our standard is documented decisions within one day applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. You'll post the final spec by 11 a.m. If delayed, I'll reassign the task. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Your assignment includes guarding purpose with plain speech. Put these 3 sentences in your mouth until they move from script to skill. Purpose opens ears. Standard steadies hands. Next action moves feet. Say it one last time. Purpose. Standard. Next action. Now, go convert conflict into commitment. We have put a scalpel in your mouth. Now make sure your body doesn't swing it like a machete. Write this down. People read your posture before they hear your paragraphs. Your body speaks first, so let it say safe and serious. Open hands, not clenched fists. Level tone, not a prosecuting pitch. Measured pace, not machine gun speed. Shoulders relaxed, chin level, feet grounded. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Walk in like an assignment, stable, not startled. And hear me clearly, write this down. Volume up does not mean value added. Proverbs 15:1 says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Your volume can sabotage your value. Anchor your delivery with 3 phrases that declare intent before demand. I'm for you. I'm for the mission. Here's the standard. Say it out loud. I'm for you. I'm for the mission. Here's the standard. That sequence tells the nervous system in the room, you are not on trial. We are on assignment. Keep your palms visible when you say it. Small detail, big signal, open hands communicate, no hidden weapons. Let breath become your metronome. Before you speak, inhale through your nose, exhale longer than you inhale. James 1:19 says, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, slow your breath, and your words will follow. Deliver each of the 3 sentences, then pause. Let the standard do the heavy lifting. Silence is not surrender. It is authority at rest. Write this down. A well-timed pause lowers defenses and raises agreement. Jesus did not shout at the accuser of the woman caught in adultery. He stooped and wrote on the ground, then spoke 1 sentence, and the stones fell. John 8. Presence before proclamation. Then precision. I trained a CEO who thought power meant pushing air. He rattled windows. He never moved hearts. We coached his posture. Sit slightly forward, hands open on the table, speak at conversation level, end each sentence with a period, not a pitch, pause. He walked into a heated budget meeting and said, I'm for you. I'm for the mission. Here's the standard. Decisions documented within 1 day applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. Then he breathed. The room leaned in. Agreement increased. Nothing mystical, just leadership embodied. Repeat after me. Firm on standard, warm on spirit. Again. Firm on standard, warm on spirit. One more time. Firm on standard, warm on spirit. That is the lion with a shepherd's heart. Your firmness tells them the rails are fixed. Your warmth tells them the ride is safe. Embodied calm makes standards feel safe and non-negotiable. Practice in a mirror. Record your voice. Lower your shoulders. Slow your words. Keep your hands open. And let your presence preach before your mouth speaks. I am for you. I am for the mission. Here is the standard. Honor is not a direction. It is a disposition. Write this down. Direction changes. Script stays. 1 Peter 2:17 says, honor everyone. Everyone means your boss, your peer, your intern. Romans 13:7 adds, render honor to whom honor is due. So we apply one tool everywhere with one spirit. Purpose first, standard next, next action last. Say with me. Same script, every direction. Upward speaking to a boss. Honor first, data next, ask for alignment. Daniel did this with Nebuchadnezzar. He resolved in his heart, then requested a test with evidence, not attitude. Daniel 1-8:12. Here's your opener. To protect delivery and trust, our standard is decisions documented within 1 business day applies to all of us. I'm seeing 3 approvals, aging past 48 hours. Here's the timeline. Next, I propose we block a 5-minute daily approval window at 4 p.m. Does that align with your priorities? Here's the posture. You're not prosecuting. You're protecting purpose with proof, and you're inviting alignment. Purpose protects you. Data supports you. Alignment advances you. Across. Speaking to a peer, Paul corrected Peter as a peer to his face for the sake of the gospel's clarity. Galatians 2:11, 1:4. That's mutual accountability. Sample it. To protect delivery and trust, our standard is no scope changes without written impact applies to both our teams. Yesterday we added task in chat without a note. Our sprint slipped 2 hours. Next, we'll reset. Any change goes in the tracker by 2 p.m. and we'll meet Mondays 9 a.m. to confirm. Agree? Write this down. Peers require explicit agreements and a reset cadence. Don't assume rhythm. Install it. Downward speaking to your team. Coach first, consequence second, dignity always. Ephesians 6:4 warns, fathers, do not provoke your children, and leaders are fathers of environment. Jesus restored Peter before reassigning him. Do you love me? Feed my sheep, John 21. Try this. To protect delivery and trust, our standard is on-time starts applies to all of us. You've been late 3 shifts. I want to understand the obstacle. Next, for 2 weeks you'll arrive 10 minutes early while we adjust childcare. If tardiness continues, we move to written warning per policy. Coaching is support. Consequence is stewardship. Dignity is non-negotiable. Write this down. Honor everyone the same. Apply the script everywhere. Upward, honor, data, alignment. Across, mutual accountabilities, explicit agreements, reset cadence. Downward coach, then consequence with dignity. Who's the leader in this? No one. And everyone. Because in a culture of standards, leadership is a function, not a rank. Say it with me one last time. To protect delivery and trust, our standard is. Next we'll now go practice it up, across, and down until the whole house speaks with one voice, calm, clear, committed. Now we move from technique to culture. Write this down. If only the boss speaks standards, you don't have a culture, you have a dependency. Culture is when the standard lives in the hallways, not just in the head of the leader. Think like an engine. I've told you this before. A $4 wire can stall a $40,000 car. One loose ground, and the whole machine sits on the side of the road. Small breaches stop big visions. Who's the leader in a car? No one. And everyone. The spark plug leads in firing. The belt leads in tension. The battery leads in ignition. Each function protects the whole. That's culture. Scripture already taught us this engineering. Ephesians 4:16 says, from him the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. Each part, not the pulpit only, not the CEO only. Each ligament supplies, say it with me, who's the leader? No one. And everyone. When everyone owns the standard, correction is not rebellion, it is maintenance. Proverbs 27:17 declares, iron sharpens iron. Iron isn't offended by iron. It expects the friction that preserves the edge. Write this down. When the standard is ours, correction is normal, not personal. So how do we make it ours? We build peer checks into the daily flow. Visible commitments. Post the top 5 standards on the wall, on the intranet, on the door of every room. Names, sign under them each quarter. Shared dashboards, real-time metrics that tie back to those standards. Response times, on-time starts, defect reports. Mutual reminders install a simple phrase anyone can use without drama. Standard check. 2 words, no accusation, just alignment. The person paused simply states the standard and the next action. Right. 2, 4, our response. I'll send it before 2 p.m. Normal, not nuclear. Ritualize this until it sings. Open every meeting with one standard and one story of it in action. Not theory, testimony. Standard spotlight. Start on time. Story. Yesterday, the ops team started at 9 sharp. Finished 5 minutes early. Celebrate it. Then rotate. Next day, no triangulation with a story of direct, respectful feedback. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain. Ritual makes it plain. Repetition makes it culture. I visited a plant where a janitor halted a vice president at the corridor. He smiled, pointed to the wall, and said, "Stand a check." The VP looked at his watch, nodded, and joined the team huddle to log a late start variance. No embarrassment, just ownership. That is what happens when the standard is bigger than the person. That's why even the $4 wire speaks up, because it knows the highway depends on it. Write this down. Distributed ownership turns correction into a shared reflex. Not policing, protecting, not shaming, sharpening. Say it with me. We own the standard. We tell the story. We protect the mission. Who's the leader? No one. And everyone. Now go wire your house so even the smallest part knows it carries the whole. Emotions will rise, and that is not a problem. It is a place for leadership. Write this down. Be angry and do not sin, Ephesians 4:26. Feelings are welcome, violations are not. Your assignment is to keep the frame when feelings flood the room. Say it with me. Validate feelings, keep the frame, move to next action. Here is your first move, name and normalize. I can see this is frustrating. The purpose remains to protect delivery and trust. That one sentence tells the nervous system you are seen, and tells the mission you are safe. Jesus did this often to the storm-tossed disciples. He said, "Why are you afraid?" He named it then. He reset the frame and calmed the sea. Matthew 8, presence, then purpose. Write this down. Acknowledge emotion. Repeat purpose. Restate standard. Confirm next step. Let me give you the sequence word for word. Step 1, acknowledge emotion. I can tell you're upset, or I hear your concern. Step 2, repeat purpose. Our purpose is to protect client trust so we can retain this account. Step 3, restate the standard. Our standard is responses within 24 hours applies to all of us. Step 4, confirm the next action. Here's what happens next. You'll block 2 response windows today and clear the backlog by 3 p.m. I'll review at 3:15. Then stop. Breathe. Let the rail carry the train. What if they push back? Raise volume, jab the air. Write this down. Don't join the storm, anchor it. Say it calmly. I won't argue. I will repeat the standard and next action, then do it. I hear you're frustrated. Our purpose remains trust. Our standard remains 2 4-hour response. Next action remains the 3 p.m. Clear out. Proverbs 15:1 says, a soft answer turns away wrath. Soft is not weak. Soft is surgical. You're not debating, you're directing. What if tears come? Normalize and steady. I can see this is heavy. Your feelings are safe here. The purpose remains safety for our patients. The standard is on-time medication rounds. Here's what happens next. We'll adjust your start by 15 minutes this week while we fix the handoff. You'll clock in early for 5 shifts. We'll review Friday. Compassion with concrete. Mercy with muscle. When heat exceeds reason, use the timeout tool. Clarity beats speed. Say, we're pausing now to protect respect. The purpose remains trust. We will reconvene at 2:30 with notes. Next action. I'll send the calendar. Invite in 5 minutes. You'll bring the status list. Then leave the room with dignity intact. Even God paused. He rested on the 7th day, not from exhaustion, but to model rhythm. Write this down. A pause is not surrender, it is stewardship. Boundary line. Feelings can be loud. Violations cannot cross. Respect is our standard, applies to all of us. If insults continue, we'll end this meeting and move to formal review per policy. Then follow through. Matthew 5:37. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Consequence without contempt builds culture. Say it with me. I host peace. I hold the frame. I move us forward. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Assignments don't argue. They align. So when emotions rise, you will acknowledge the wave, stand on the rock, and point to the shore. Purpose, standard, next action. That is how a lion leads with a shepherd's heart when the wind howls. Write this down. Most conflicts fit a pattern. Use the script, not your mood. Say it with me. Purpose, standard, next, action. These are templates you can carry in your pocket and pull out in the hallway. Short, clear, repeatable. Chronic lateness. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Time honors purpose. Try this. The purpose of this conversation is to protect team trust so we can deliver consistently. Our standard is on-time starts, applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. For the next 14 days, you'll arrive within a 10-minute early window while we adjust your commute plan. If there are 2 misses, we move to written warning per policy. You may add support. I'll help you map the route by 4 p.m. Mercy with muscle. Missed deadlines. Psalm 15:4 honors the one who keeps an oath even when it hurts. Promises are holy. Say it. The purpose is to protect our client promise so we can retain trust. Our standard is commitments honored, applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. We insert a 20% buffer. Set a daily 10-minute checkpoint at 4 p.m. and escalate risk 48 hours before impact. If we miss again, I'll reassign the critical path for this client cycle. Support the promise, protect the promise. Gossip and triangulation. Proverbs 26:20. Where there is no wood, the fire goes out. Don't feed fires. Use this. The purpose is to protect relational safety so we can work freely. Our standard is address at the source. Within 24 hours, no triangulation applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. You'll speak with Sarah directly by 2 p.m. I'll be available to mediate at 2:30 if needed. If triangulation repeats, we move to coaching with HR. Safety grows where courage is normal. Quality slippage. Proverbs 22:29 asks, do you see a man skilled in his work? He will stand before kings. Excellence is witness. Say the purpose is to protect our reputation so we can be trusted with greater work. Our standard is our definition of done. Test pass, peer review complete, and spec match applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. We activate a QA gate, no release without peer review schedule. Retraining Friday 10 a.m. and audit the next 3 outputs. If 2 defects appear within 7 days, we pause your release duties for focused retrain. Excellence is love in detail. Scope creep. Nehemiah 6:3. I am doing a great work and cannot come down. Focus is stewardship. Use this. The purpose is to protect focus so we can hit the delivery date. Our standard is change control. No new scope without written impact, and reprioritization applies to all of us. Here's what happens next. We either drop tasks A and B to include C, or we defer C to the next sprint. We'll decide at 3 p.m. with the impact note in hand. Choice with clarity beats chaos with charisma. Write this down. Short sentences save long relationships. Leadership is born when toleration ends. Most frictions are reruns. Don't improvise your integrity. Say it with me. Use the script, not your mood. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Assignments don't argue. They align. Purpose, standard, next, action. Now go turn conflict into commitment. 5 scripts at a time. Write this down. Right message, wrong setting equals wrong result. Stage the truth wisely. Proverbs 25:11 says, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. Not just the word, it's setting. Jesus instructed, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him it's fault between you and him alone. Matthew 18:15. Private first, public principles later. Dignity preserves teachability. Say it with me. Protect the person, preserve the mission. Timing is theology. Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Choose time on purpose. Not hungry, not hurry. Clarity hates pressure. Don't correct at the doorway, in the hallway, or at the end of a 12-hour shift when cortisol is king. Aim for rested mind, quiet room, and a 5-minute buffer on either side. Write this down. Never correct on the run. Speed breeds confusion, and confusion breeds resentment. High stakes equals face-to-face. Low stakes equals documented follow-up. Say it again. High stakes, face-to-face with cameras on. If remote, microphones clear, eyes visible. Galatians 6:1 says, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness. Gentleness requires presence. If safety, integrity, or employment is on the line, do not text it, do not hint it, do not bury it in a Slack thread. Sit down. Look them in the eye. For low-stakes items, a missed CC, a light nudge, use a brief note, then follow with a one-sentence recap. Purpose, standard, next action, in writing before close of day. Environment speaks before you do. Side by side communicates problem solving. Across the table communicates accountability. Choose deliberately. If you're redesigning a process, sit at a whiteboard, shoulder to shoulder, we against the problem. If you're addressing a violation, sit across, feet grounded, open hands. I'm for you. I'm for the mission. Here's the standard. Avoid the public spectacle. Don't correct from a stage, in an open office, or on a group chat unless you are teaching a principle to all with no names attached. Private first, public principles later. Write this down. Praise in public to reinforce culture. Correct in private to restore courage. Now lock it in with paper. Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision and make it plain. Document decisions. End every hard talk with a mutual restatement. Tell me what you're going to do and by when. Then you repeat it back. 2 witnesses, your mouth and the calendar. Send minutes within 1 business day. 3 bullets only. Purpose, standard. Next, action with dates, owners, and support. Put the next step on the calendar while you are in the room. If it isn't scheduled, it's a wish. If it isn't written, it isn't agreed. Say it with me. Stage the truth. Guard the time. Choose the medium. Set the room. Capture the decision. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Assignments don't argue. They align. Right message, wrong setting equals wrong result. So steward the setting until dignity is safe and truth can do its work. Write this down. Follow through turns a hard talk into transformed behavior. Talking is not finishing. James 1:22 says, be doers of the word and not hearers only. Leadership doesn't end at amen. It ends at achieved. Say it with me. Consequences, coaching, covenant. First, consequences. Clarify love. Hebrews 12:6 declares, the Lord disciplines those he loves. Discipline is not anger. It is affection that protects destiny. Make consequences. 3 things. Predictable, proportional, and pre-communicated. Predictable. No surprises. Just what we agreed. Proportional. The response matches the breach, not your mood. Pre-communicated. They heard it before they felt it. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. Matthew 5:37. Sample the line. As agreed, if the standard is missed twice this week, we move to written warning per policy. Then if it happens, do it. No flinch, no flare. Write this down. Inconsistent consequences create confusion. Predictable ones create trust. Second, coaching. Not every miss is rebellion. Sometimes it's a gap. Ask, is this will or skill? If it's skill, install a plan, resource, rehearsal, review. Resource, provide the tool or training manual course, mentor. Rehearsal, practice, under watch, role play the handoff, dry run the presentation, shadow the process, review, inspect outputs on a cadence daily for 5 days, then weekly. Proverbs 22:29, spotlight skill. Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. Sample the plan. Friday, 10 a.m. training, 2 p.m. Role play, 3 scenarios, 4 p.m. Daily check for 1 week. Success is 100% on time. Starts for 10 shifts. Write this down. What you inspect improves. What you ignore returns. Proverbs 27:23 says, be diligent to know the state of your flocks. Third, covenant. After conflict, renew commitment, restate purpose, re-sign the standard, reconfirm the next milestone. Choose this day whom you will serve. Joshua 24:15. Agreement must be fresh. 2 witnesses again, your mouth and the calendar. Say it back to me. Then, invite, sent, review Monday, 4 p.m. Nehemiah's people made a firm covenant in writing and sealed it. Nehemiah 9:38. Put ink on intent. Close with honor, not heat. Thank you for protecting our purpose with me. That sentence heals pride and hardens resolve. Luke 16:10 promises, he who is faithful in little is faithful also in much. So we check the little on purpose. 4, 8-hour review. 7-day audit. 3, 0-day confirm. No drama, just stewardship. Say it with me. Predictable, proportional, pre-communicated, resource, rehearsal, review, purpose, standard, milestone. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Assignments don't argue. They align. Now follow through. So the conversation becomes culture and the standard becomes someone's new normal. Write this down. Schedule courage. Consistent, scripted action multiplies respect and results. Joshua 1-9 says, be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Courage is not a feeling. It is a calendar entry. Say it with me. My schedule is my standard in motion. Week 1 inventory. Open 3, 4, 5-minute blocks this week. Put them on the calendar now. List every tolerated breach by name, not by person. Late starts, side channel scope, unlogged decisions, gossip, sloppy handoffs. Rank them by impact on purpose, trust, safety, delivery. Whatever you tolerate, you will never change. Star the top 5. Add proof beside each dates, metrics, missed moments. Proverbs 27:23. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks. If you won't write it, you will keep living it. Write it, see it, own it. Week 2, standards. Habakkuk 2 commands. Write the vision and make it plain. Draft 3 to 5 non-negotiables, each tied to purpose and stamped with applies to all of us. Example, to protect client trust, we respond within 24 hours applies to all of us. Rehearse the 3-sentence script out loud. Daily purpose, standard, next action, mirror, phone recording, peer. Say it until your nervous system believes you. James 1:19. Quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, slow your breath, sharpen your words. Leadership is 80% mentality, 20% skill. Train both. Week 3, conversations. 1 per day. Not 5 in 1 day. 1 per day. Block 20 minutes. Choose the right setting and use the script. I'm for you. I'm for the mission. Here's the standard. Then, here's what happens next. 2 witnesses. Your mouth and the calendar. Send the invite before you leave the room. Matthew 18:15. Private first. Document the next step in 1 sentence and schedule the review. Do not negotiate the real purpose, standard, next action. Let your yes be yes. Matthew 5:37. Your calm is the container for their change. Week 4, reinforce. Document outcomes in 3 bullets. Purpose, standard, next, action owners and dates. Set checkpoints. 4, 8-hour review. 7-day audit. 3, 0-day confirm. Open every meeting with 1 standard and 1 story. Standard spotlight. Celebrate the janitor and the VP the same. Iron sharpens iron. Proverbs 27:17. Make friction a friend. Share metrics that match the standards. On-time starts, response windows, defect-free releases. Luke 16:10. Faithful in little, faithful in much. That is how culture hardens into character. Now declare it. Say it loud. The world needs me. My voice protects purpose. Again, the world needs me. My voice protects purpose. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Your job is what they pay you to do. Your work is what you were born to do. Deploy yourself. Tonight, list and rank. Tomorrow, write and rehearse. Day 8, invite and speak. Day 15, repeat and review. Day 22, spotlight and celebrate. Day 30, confirm and covenant. Schedule courage and watch respect and results rise like the morning sun. Leadership is born when toleration ends. Let it be born in your calendar this month.